Hi, I'm Kit Noonan.
And I'm Kaylin Serena Stanton. We're certified coaches and soulmates from different generations who aim to simplify wellness for you. Soulful Wellness is a personal wellness evolution podcast and community that embraces living well your way. No trends, diets, or one-size-fits-all advice here.
We aim to bring you practical guidance and share our own personal experiences so that you too can heal inside and out and experience your own wellness evolution.
Join us every Thursday as we embrace living from the soul.
Fall. It's a time in the wellness space where you're going to hear the term grounded a lot. But how can we actually enact that? How can we get grounded? And what's the wellness benefit?
This week, we're talking about, you guessed it, getting grounded. Getting grounded to help us stay present in the moment we're living. Yes, I know the industry term for this is mindfulness, but really what it means is just paying attention to what you're doing.
Let's get started.
Thank you for joining us again for another week of wellness goodness. And if you're new to the Soulful Society, welcome and thanks for being here. We'd love to have you as a regular listener, so if you enjoy this episode, please consider subscribing. You'll get a new episode of Wellness delivered automatically every Thursday morning.
If you haven't rated and reviewed Soulful of Wellness yet, you still got time. We would love to have you. Help us out by tapping that 5th star and providing a few words of feedback. What comes to mind? What's your favorite episode? And what do you want to hear more of? Today's episode is our yearly fall episode. We thought about it and what we've talked about in years past. When it comes to fall, we have our Falling into Wellness episode from last year, where we talk a lot about what themes fall brings up for us. But this year, I think we're excited to have a more in-depth spin on it and not sort of the obvious themes that come with fall, right? We're going to talk about getting grounded, but instead of just loosely talking about it as a pervasive wellness term, we're actually going to open it up a little bit, look underneath the surface.
Yes, hopefully bring some awareness to patterns you can observe in yourself. I should remind myself more frequently that I might need to actively pay attention to what I'm doing more so than maybe someone who doesn't have ADHD.
Right. I feel like this comes about because fall is so fleeting. It's so quick. It's beautiful. And we were talking about it on the phone today where the temperature is not too cold and not too hot. It's very Goldilocks. It's gorgeous. It's all around us. And it's almost like screaming, pay attention to me. Hey, stop, smell the roses.
Yeah, it is beautiful to the point of being seductive at this point.
Yeah.
It has been so wonderful outside. It's luring me out. I think it's luring other people who maybe don't prioritize getting outside and taking a walk in the middle of the day out there because we see these gorgeous days and we want to participate. It's that attractive to just get outside and take a little walk, even just 10-15 minutes to experience part of being out there before it's too late and it's gone and it's winter and we're like, hey, what happened to fall?
Good for nature for turning on the seduction and alluring us outside, because almost every episode comes back to the tool of being in nature. I mean, talk about grounding, right? It really helps us come back to ourselves. And I feel like that's what a lot of us are looking for right now as I'm having conversations with clients and friends and family, and you obviously, is this idea of feeling flighty or overwhelmed or just stressed out. And the fact that nature is alluring us to strip it down to the simplicities. Get outside for 15 minutes a day and feel the effects. Just see what it can do for you.
Notice it. Pay attention to it. Look at the leaves. They're changing. They're changing day to day and certainly week to week. You can notice a difference. You can see fewer leaves on the trees already. You can certainly see the color noticing those things to put into our brains the change of seasons. One of the trends I've noticed is it all blends together. It's hard for me to remember when things were. I don't have the anchors I feel like I once had in life that I could say, well, that was 5th grade, or that was when I started high school. As an adult, and really lately as an adult, I don't feel like I have those anchor memories that help me cement my timeline.
I feel like this is twofold. The first being, I saw this video recently and it had an interesting call out where it talked about how as kids, like you're talking about right now, like each season felt so special and there was such like a definitive line, right, between the seasons and holidays and all these things. Now they just fly by and everything blends together. Twofold. So this could be likely because of seasonal markers. Like we had them in place by our parents, by our schools, all these traditions. And now as adults, it's our job to sort of nurture ourselves and flow with the seasons really intentionally. Because if we don't put intentionality behind it, it's just going to fly by. And then pretty soon, where did all these months go? All of a sudden it's winter and we don't know what happened and we're on autopilot, which also speaks to the second part of this, which is the fact that we, as a society, we were talking about this earlier on the phone, nature is calling our attention because we're spending more and more time like in a box, essentially, in our car, in our apartment, in our home, like inside, because humans have evolved so much. We can make the weather whatever we want in our little box. We can make it hot. We can make it cold. We can make it dark. We can make it light. So we're not exactly being called into living with nature. We're being called to we're not being called to anything.
No.
We're just racing through life. We're working. We're exhausted.
We're ignoring nature. We turn the lights on when it gets dark and keep going exactly as we were when it was daylight. I have to look at the clock to know what time it is. Now, I realize that sounds ridiculous. Like everyone looks at the clock to know what time it is, but there are times where I have no idea within a 4-hour span. It's not like I'm looking to see to the minute. I'm looking to see to the hour. Like I really don't know. The curtains are closed. The lights are on. The same applies to even seasonally. Like it gets a little chilly out, we turn the heat on. Gets a little hot out, we turn the air conditioning on, and we're not paying attention. Speaking for myself, I'm not paying enough attention.
We're hearing about, we're so stressed out as a society, as a human race. Everyone's stressed, everyone's overwhelmed, everyone's running around. Well, we're getting further and further away from our ancestral lifestyle, farming from the land. I'm not saying we need to, grow our own foods entirely and things like that, but it's like going to bed when the sun goes down and things like that. We're getting so far away from that with technology and being able to work around the clock. We are exhausting ourselves. We are burnt out and we're more disconnected from ourselves than ever.
What you're talking about, those feelings are exactly the signs that you are not grounded, that you have strayed too far from being present in your life. When you're feeling burnt out, when you're feeling overwhelmed, overworked, like there is no off button and there probably isn't even a pause button, that it's one long continuous go, those are very clear feelings signaling to you that you need to have a real pause, stay present, look around, live in the moment, and ground yourself, to help your brain, to slow everything down for a moment and pay attention.
Yeah, totally. We have to be our own self-advocates. And I know that might sound odd when we're talking about grounding and overwhelm and all these things, but we're living in a society that's telling us it's normal to be on like 24/7, that we can work from anywhere because we have a computer in our pocket, basically, that we can stay up as late as we want or change the temperature and all these things. And we're getting further and further away of the natural rhythms of life. Like nature provides so many lessons for us. All of those quotes and these sayings are cliche for a reason about how like it takes time for flowers to grow and trees have really, really deep roots. They're rooted into the ground, into the earth. And then that enables them to stand really tall and to be strong because they have their roots and they're grounded. And how the changing of seasons is the perfect reflection of this, of the rhythms and flowing with the rhythms of life, because it's the perfect analogy for us humans that we need to get. The way we can get grounded is we take the lessons from nature and turn ourselves off and power down at the end of the night and understand that, from a bigger, larger perspective, personal growth is just like that. We have our seasons and then we need time to sort of like hibernate, slow down, plant the seeds, water, then watch it grow. It's not about this constant go, go, go. I need instant results. I need to always be doing. We can take a lesson from nature as she relaxes like 50% of the time.
And that's the piece that I've noticed in preparation for this episode, really paying attention to what I'm doing and how I'm doing the things I do regularly. There's so much multitasking going on in my brain. I need to push the pause button and pay more attention to the things I'm doing, even the rote little, I'll use get ready for bed routine that I have as an example. I can do that without thinking about it at this point. I'm using that to mentally prepare for the next day, plan wardrobe. I can get away with it, but I don't think it's a good idea. And the problems that I've noticed I'm having lately are things like, did I just brush my teeth? I don't remember brushing my teeth. And I literally have to feel my toothbrush to figure out if I just brushed my teeth or not. Like, how does one forget brushing your teeth? I'm so far on autopilot.
You're on autopilot.
There's all the lotions and potions that you layer on when you get to be in your 50s. And I'll think, which ones did I just do? I think I just did that, but who knows? That could have been this morning or last night. I'm not really sure. I just put them on again because I figure more better, right?
Yeah, might as well.
But that's silly. Like, I should pay attention to what I'm doing so that I can remember if I just brushed my teeth.
Well, your brain is like a computer, right? And we need to power them down. And it's just so rare for us to do so. It takes so much intentionality and it's so hard. I feel like that relates to the overwhelm that a lot of people in our lives are experiencing right now. And I have been feeling really reactive lately. Like anything will just make me worry and anxious, especially as a new puppy mom, I just feel like my reactions are so much quicker to automatic worry and stress instead of, okay, calmly assess the situation. Okay, he just picked up a stick in his mouth. Don't worry, it's nothing crazy. I feel like that's because we're spending less and less time on sort of like powering ourselves down and calming down, and the brain, the computer's just constantly running. And we put in the charger and we forget that when we're constantly charging it, it actually does the opposite effect, right? Where it whittles down our battery over time and we become tired. And then what happens when we're tired? We stop paying attention, or we're going through the motions and we're moving too quickly.
I absolutely hear what you're saying about pushing the pause button. And that's hard for me because if it's not designated downtime or self-care time, or if I can't call it something, I'm uncomfortable with it because my brain perceives that as lost productivity time. That's not healthy. That's something that I need to spend a little time working on for myself to have a healthier interpretation of a basic human need, a necessity to pause periodically throughout a day, not once a day, to have pause moments to, like you said, calm my anxious mind or pay attention to what I'm doing.
I'm so glad you brought this up. And first of all, we have to remind ourselves to just attempt to have a little bit of compassion there, right? Because this is the way our society is structured. The pressure for us to feel like we need to be productive at all times. So really what we're trying to do is not only rewire our brains, but really deconstruct a lot of limiting beliefs that society and the messages that we're getting subliminally and consciously around us are telling us. Like, in order to be successful, in order to get XYZ, in order to get whatever you want, you need to be productive. So I'm so glad you're bringing this up, Kit, because we have a positive reframe tool for you on this idea of productivity. And it's interesting the way it relates to being grounded. So what if part of being productive in your day was actually taking an intentional moment to ground down, to get back into your energy, into your body, and maybe even connect with the earth? So what if we reframed it? That adds to our productivity, because have you ever heard what people use in the sales world, the phrase slow down to speed up? They say slow down to speed up because the slower we work, the more we actually get done. We're calmer, we're able to focus and really zone in on one thing at a time. Whereas if you're trying to move too fast, you're trying to answer, let's say, multiple emails at once, different conversations, or just trying to get through the list. I do this all the time, where I try to move too fast, I end up making a ton of mistakes.
Yes, you make all the little embarrassing mistakes, like send the text to the wrong person, and then you have to send the follow-up text saying, oopsie, that was for someone else.
We're trying to do too much, and we need to figure out what works for you as an individual, right? Is it going to be squashing the inner gremlin and using positive self-talk and inner child work? Maybe it's using a little bit of self-compassion, and that's again, I feel like, with the inner child work. Or is it experimentation? Is it, I'm going to try to add in grounding on my to-do list this week?
It's interesting you say add the slow down to speed up. And in this case, it's slow down to calm down, I guess. I don't have a catchier way to say it. But I had a little anxiety incident recently, and I won't go into the whole backstory on it because that would take half an episode. But I was doing self-talk and, being aware of knowing that there were multiple triggers that were likely to have a real impact on my rising anxiety, noticing the feelings, feeling them rising, and talking myself down and saying, wait, you have strategies for this. You know how to handle this. They weren't successful, and it was upsetting to me that I wasn't successful after, you think, oh, I've done all this work on myself. I practiced. And only later, when I was journaling and reflecting back about the incident, did I realize the crucial piece that I failed to implement was to pause. So while I was practicing healthy self-talk and noticing and managing, I was still going. I was still moving. I was still doing. And that was my fatal flaw in this situation. If I had quite literally stopped myself and just taken a moment in space to physically pause, I think I would ultimately have been successful in overcoming and dissipating these feelings before they overtook me, which they wound up doing in this moment. If I could have just paused and stopped the activity, stopped the action, and given myself one single task of what I was trying to do while simultaneously plowing through.
Yeah. Do you feel like the pause could have allowed space a little bit?
Yes, and focus. Because I was talking myself down, but I was still walking for most of this and moving and doing the things that I was doing. And if I could have said, however many minutes, 5-minute time out, I'm just going to stand here or sit here and breathe and think all the thoughts, I think I could have lowered everything to a manageable level and then gotten up and continued on. But I was trying to do it all at the same time.
Trying to take on tackling the panic attack. It's like another action, right? It's like action oriented again and again. And what we keep coming back to in this episode about grounding is the pause.
Yeah.
Is the moment of grace that we give ourselves to just be the observer for a moment.
Yes, to connect with the moment, to be in the moment, to pay attention to it, and to think one thing or about one thing. And then that frees up the space for my brain to just calm down and say, okay, let me do this linear instead of all piled up on top of each other, moving the whole stack at a time. Let me put it like steps and just do one step at a time.
Yeah. And I'm thinking back to a recent panic attack I had. And you're so right. I love that metaphor of the stacking versus the, just one thing, because I remember the moment I started to catastrophize and spiral, and that's where the panic attack kind of, when they overtake you, right, kind of like a tidal wave, and you're caught in the undertow.
Well, it's building, and then it reaches critical mass, and once it reaches critical mass, it
forget
just
about it.
You away. Yeah, there's like all the strategies and practice and learning and growth in the world don't serve you in that moment.
Out the window.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then you got all this salt water up your nose and in your eyes. And then eventually it calms down and you get out of the water and you're like, what the?
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
But here we are, live to tell the tale and talk about it.
Keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
I read a really insightful book recently. The title of the book is Remember. It's by a neuroscientist. Her name is Lisa Genova. The book was about how so many American adults think we're getting Alzheimer's or think we're getting dementia and we don't remember things. We parked the car and can't remember where we parked the car and, little things like that. And in the book, she talks about how our brains don't have a fighting chance at remembering things because we're not paying attention when we did them in the first place. So when you park the car, if you're not paying any attention to where you parked the car, you're just thinking about how you're running late and what time is it and how many minutes do I have to get in there and do I have time to run to the bathroom on the way and all those things, you can't reasonably expect your brain later to remember where it put the car. It's not that you forgot. You didn't form the memory in the first place. And that was sort of the impetus to my starting to notice how many things I do disconnected from what I'm doing. And then later I'm faulting my brain for not remembering. My brain's like, remember, we didn't learn it in the first place.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you think we are? Magic?
Where were you? You were thinking about how badly you had to pee.
Yeah.
You never even looked up to see that you were in parking garage B2.
Exactly.
No, so relatable.
And the book actually made me feel much better because I was like, wow, I'm so guilty of all these things, these ways I don't let my brain form the memory in the first place. So it's not, hopefully, that I have a terrible memory. It's that I'm not paying any attention to what I'm doing.
I have this weird habit where I'm trying to be present in the moment. For example, with my puppy Wally, he's growing so fast, and I love the fall season because of its beauty, and it's just I love colors, and I have this weird air of sentimentality in the moment I'm having. This is so awesome.
Nostalgia for the moment. Only you're like,
it's so bizarre.
But I'm here.
I'm here. Yeah. And so I just keep repeating the same thing. Like, JC, did you see that tree? Oh, that tree's so pretty. Oh my God. Oh, Wally's so big. Oh, he's so big. He's growing so much in the same day, in the same moment. I guess I feel like, saying it out loud, solidifies it more.
Yeah.
Also,
more of a celebration of the moment than missing the moment
that you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I actually had some advice from a therapist once that was very concrete when it comes to grounding. So she said, narrate as well as describe, play around with all of your senses. So you can say, I'm walking to get coffee. What do I smell right now? The crisp air. What do I feel? I feel the glove material on my hands. What do I see? I see this tree over here, and so on and so forth. What do I taste in my mouth? I taste toothpaste. That kind of enables our brain to actually encode the memory. So
that is forcing yourself to live in that moment and notice what you're doing. And you're imprinting in your brain so that your brain can find that memory later and be like, oh, yes, I do remember that walk.
Yeah, that's what was the advice she gave me before my wedding. And it was really helpful. It was incredible. And I wasn't weirdly nostalgic. I was definitely present in the moment. And it is so beautiful. And it makes it easier, actually, I would say, and less nostalgic when it's over, like a really special moment or day or week or whatever. Because then you could say, wow, I really did live it out. Like there's no stone left unturned in terms of like, I tried my best to be in each moment. You know, people say when exciting things happen in your life, soak it in, soak it in. It's going to go by so fast. And they mean well when they say it. But, you know, in these times, like you acknowledge yourself, no, I am soaking it in and I really am. It leaves you feeling more happy about the memory and less, you know, sad that it's over.
I have a little tool that I've been trying out lately where when I'm tempted to reach for my phone to take a picture, because obviously I think it's a memorable moment or a moment that I might want to revisit later, I stop myself and I say, how about a mental picture instead? And I do not reach for my phone because, let's be honest, there are how many thousand pictures on my phone, most of which I never look back at and couldn't find even if I wanted to. So I'm trying to do, no, let's pretend that I don't need to document every single thing with a photo. I'm going to really just pay attention to it. And I feel like I remember things better because by whipping out my phone to take a photo, it's almost like I'm giving myself permission not to bother remembering all the details of it now because I can always look back at it later. And then of course don't. So
Right.
By saying like, no, just be here, look at it, remember it. I don't know. It allows me to really be present better and therefore remember it better.
That's beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
So before we wrap up, we just want to do a few rapid fire tools and tips. If you're looking for more in-depth tools, go ahead and check out our episodes from years past on fall. We have a lot of juicy tidbits and really, really good tools there. So we're going to wrap it up with 4 quick tools. First, spend time in nature.
The quintessential grounding, getting barefoot, and walking around on the earth.
Nothing like it.
If you don't know what we're talking about, if you're like, why would that be helpful to my wellness? There really are scientific electromagnetic rebalancing, polarizing properties. It's not just a woo-woo thing. It really does a lot for aligning your electrons in the outer shell. Tool number 2.
Body awareness meditation. So you're moving energy downwards, down into your feet, instead of it floating up in your mind, trying to keep too much in the brain. So body awareness meditation, you can research this. You can use some of our meditations. We've dropped quite a few, so go ahead and scroll down. We're more than happy to provide that for you.
Tool number 3, connect with a friend, connect with yourself, but spend time in the present moment paying attention.
This could even be the topic of conversation that you and your friends have. Maybe it's something, you know, a neutral topic or talking about the moment around you instead of something in the past or gossiping or something like that.
Only thinking about that conversation and catch yourself, because how often are you sending a text also?
Yeah.
Or
right.
thinking about what you're going to have for dinner or any other of a million things, and then remind your brain, we're practicing connection and we're going to pay attention to this conversation we're having right now.
And the last tool, we've said it a few times, pause and connect with this moment. This is also known as mindfulness. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. We love you so, so much. Please don't forget to leave us a review with your thoughts. Till next week, peace, love, and light.
Peace, love, and light.
The Soulful of Wellness hosts are certified health and wellness coaches. This podcast is intended to inform and entertain listeners on their wellness journey. This podcast is meant to enhance, not replace, listeners' care from doctors, therapists, or other medical providers.